how attractive you are, or what kind of car you drive. What do you think is behind it? What goes behind decision making? Any suggestions? Well, let me start off by saying that there are definitely things going on behind the scenes, depending on the kind of credit you're applying for. And all kinds of credit, whether it's a mortgage, it's a large commercial loan, it's a peeny-weeny line of credit, it's a credit card. There's what we call credit analysis because credit involves risk. Just a basic definition of credit is that it's the exchange of goods and services for a promise to pay later, and it always involves a degree of risk. And the risk is that the person who is the debtor may not pay. And what we do to analyze the risk is what I call, and I think some of you have already heard this presentation, is what I call the 4 C's of credit. Does everybody know what that means? 4 C's of credit, guess. They start with C. There are 4 criteria that people use. So let's kind of say you want to borrow for a house. You want to buy a house. What do you think the bank would be looking for? I can see TJ's already got an answer because he's in real estate. Probably has to do with whether you've got a steady job.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That would be called.
I would disagree with that. Some say it is to do with a steady job, but it's more of to do with the capacity to pay. First of all, I am somebody that falls in that category who doesn't have a job at all, but I still have the capacity to pay and I can take out high loan about that.
Oh.
So the first thing I can say is I can definitely disagree with that.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Well, that's part of that, what I was going to get to. So thank you. That's a good point. I would start by saying that one of the C's is capacity. So you kind of nailed on that. But even more important than capacity is something that we value in Toastmasters. It's in fact one of our core principles.
I think that's crisis, right, Sal? Crisis?
Crisis,
The bank wants
no.
to see that you're in crisis, that you really need the money. Because if you really need the money more than anyone else, then they're going to give it to you, right?
Not necessarily. In fact, they may not be a criteria at all. I would say one of the things we look for as a credit grantor would be what we value in Toastmasters, which is integrity. And the first C, therefore, stands for character. What kind of character do you have? Are you a trustworthy person? So if you've got capacity, but you're a diamond smuggler, it doesn't work. You've got a criminal record then. So capacity is important, but character is the most important thing. Next, we have capacity. And then we have capital. Does everybody know what capital means? What do I mean by capital?
What do you have in your pocket?
Yes, that's right, Catherine. Well done. It's your net worth, the difference between your assets and liabilities. Also, what kind of collateral can you offer the lender or the credit grantor? And the final one is conditions. So let's just put them all together. Most important, character. If you don't have character, if you don't have the integrity, if I were a credit grantor, I wouldn't lend to you, even if you had all the money in the world, because I don't know what kind of a person you are. You could be a shady character. I don't know. Capacity, as Charles pointed out, is extremely important. If you have means to pay back the loan. What if you have excellent character, but you've got no means to pay back the loan or the credit card? Then character alone isn't good enough. Capacity is what's important. The other thing is capital, and so let's go into the character. How do we determine a person's character? If you look at the slide, it gives you a little bit of an idea. It talks about credit reports, credit history, credit score. So a credit report is essentially a report on how you've been performing with your credit. The higher the credit score, the better it is because it means you're paying on time. We can trust you with credit. You've got a great history. Sometimes people get turned down by a low credit score. What have they done? Well, probably they've missed a few payments or they've been delinquent. So the credit bureau would come back and say, your credit score is too low. I'm sorry, we can't lend you. You've got to be a little bit more diligent in your past history. It isn't the end of the world. You can always go back and correct it and become a better credit risk.
So what do you call the guys who can build credit and despite having a crap credit card score and they still get a loan? I mean, some people here that I know who still have like R9s in the past still manage to get mortgages.
Sorry, the question is, if they have a low credit score, they can still get mortgages? Is that what your question is?
Even into R9's credit scores in the past, until this day.
Well, that's a good point. The suggestion here is that it may be possible, but probably you're going to pay more for it. The higher the risk you are, the greater the interest rate. So most conventional lenders, like a conventional bank, is less likely to lend you if you've got a very low credit score. You may have to go to a loan shark or an unconventional lender. That's a great point. Does anybody else want to participate? Does anybody else have any questions on this? Nope. So let's move on to the next part, which is capacity. You got a job, you got investments, you got money to pay. Nothing miraculous about it. If I give you a loan, I like to be paid. I think Catherine's got a question, or she don't have a question. Just the use of the word of the day. Thank you, Catherine. So capacity, any questions on that? It's fairly straightforward. It's, will I get paid back? If I lend you money, will you pay me back? Do you have the capacity to pay? And do you have a capacity to put up some collateral if for some reason I'm concerned? Now this is usually for high ticket items. So if you borrow for a car, they'll take your car as collateral security. If you borrow for a house, they're probably going to take your house as collateral security. But if it's a small loan for say $5,000 or it's a credit card, probably you'll get it just on character and not on any bigger collateral items. So it's big ticket items. And then finally, or not finally, the next part of it is capital. And Catherine got that nailed down. It's what you own and what you owe. The more you own means you got more capital. More you owe means you got less capital. So the difference between assets and liabilities is your net worth, and that is called your capital. Any questions on that? It's a nice group here. We're going to go to the next slide, which is conditions. What do I mean by conditions? So right now, we're living with uncertainty. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And generally, credit may be extended in dire circumstances. So, for instance, I have lent you a lot of money. If I start demanding payment, I probably won't get it. The smart thing would be for me to defer payment, which is what the banks are doing. Conditions of uncertainty, less likely to get new credit, more likely to get extensions. Under conditions of uncertainty, there are going to be fewer jobs available because there's going to be crisis, financial crisis, economic decline. People are concerned. They're unemployed. So here we have it. I like to have a little bit of discussion, see if anybody has any questions, any points of contention. Is this fairly straightforward? Nothing miraculous about it. There's always a reason behind what's going on.
So let's go back to capital for a second. Can you go review that for a second, please?
Capital. Okay, here we go.
So what's asset and liability to you mean?
Well, asset is what you own and liability is what you owe. Fairly straightforward.
Well, we don't agree with that because in Rich Dad Poor Dad, assets is the stuff that puts money in your pocket, and liability is the stuff that takes money out of your pocket.
Well, you could put it that way, but the real point about this is that assets are what you own and liabilities are what you own. It's not just having it in your pocket. If you have something in your pocket but you don't own it, then it's somebody else's money that's been lent to you. The more,
And what does that have to do with overall lending?
what's that going to do with overall lending? If you don't have a lot of capital, and if you're coming for a big ticket item, probably chances of your getting a loan are next to nothing.
So you need to tell me that if I own a bunch of businesses, that I can't even get a big freaking loan. I think I can.
It means that you have capital because you own something, don't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, anybody else has any questions? So let's open this discussion to somebody other than Charles, because I like everybody to participate. Anybody else? What about John? Do you have any questions?
I owe, so off to work I go.
Off to work I go. Excellent. What about you, Han? You have any questions?
Yeah, when you're talking about condition,
Yes.
and do you have any real, in your past 30 years, have you encountered any special story? Still thing you would like to share?
Yes, absolutely. I have encountered many, many different situations. When I first got involved with the credit union way back in the early 80s, there was a crisis going on. Interest rates had jumped. Young may not have been quite aware of it, but at that time people were walking away. They bought houses and just couldn't repay. They would come to the bank and hand us the keys and said, "Here are the keys. We can't make any payments." And we had to go and foreclose and sell the houses. So it's happened before. Economic cycles happen. You have an up cycle, you have a down cycle, and things happen in life all the time. Remember, who anticipated the COVID crisis? It just happened. And you got to deal with it.
Sal, I anticipated the COVID crisis a long time ago, man. That's
You
why I
did.
shorted the market. I made millions.
Good for you. Well, that's a smart way of doing it. Excellent.
Yeah, and I agree with Charles. I don't think capital should all be to do with assets and liabilities. I mean, capital is what I got in my pocket, but I got assets that bring me money every month, and I got low liabilities. They don't cost me much. I'm saving 10 grand a month right now. And why do they want to know how much money I got in the bank? Like I can afford those payments that they're asking me. Why is the bank saying no? That's not fair.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, TJ. You've just reinforced the point that I made. Your assets, you've got assets and you've got liabilities. You've got assets that are quite liquid if you're making $10,000 a month, and that means you've got capital. There we go. Anybody else? What about you, Han? You got any points? What about our guests? I haven't heard from our guests. Any questions from our guests?
So Sal, you gonna lend me some money or what?
Am I going to lend you some money? I'm no longer in the business. I'm retired. Sorry to disappoint you.
You already made your money. You've already made your money.
I already made my money. I think if you heard one of my speeches, I don't know which one it was. I think you were there.
You know what? The biggest thing I got the biggest truth I heard about banks is they want to lend you an umbrella when it's summertime, and when it starts raining, they ask for it back.
Now, how did you guess that? That is absolutely right. We do exactly the same thing. We lend you money when it is sunny, and when it rains and you want an umbrella, we take your umbrella back. Well, we actually give you an umbrella when it's sunny and take it back when it's raining. So that's excellent definition. Great. Any other questions? Are we all good? Well, you've been a very, very good audience. I'm just surprised. With that, I think I've spent my more than 5 to 7 minutes, and I've handled some of the points of contention and points of interest. And I shall then hand you back to our chair. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sal. Wow, we have a very good timing so far. Right now it's 8:02, which is exactly the same as what we said on the agenda. For the first evaluator, may I have Charles to evaluate? Charles, are
Yeah.
you ready?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead. Thank you, Charles.
In it to win it. What a way to be going there, TJ. Because of this is supposed to be making an impact or sway the or at least influence an audience to be able to get something, I think it's okay for me to give it to TJ exactly like the guy from America's Got Talent. So I hope you're ready for what's coming for you. So first of all, let's start with the good stuff. I like how he managed to pull the audience in after putting on the title In It to Win It, because this is something that's a bit catchy. And he gave us something that was interesting, which is a cause, and got everyone else to be thinking about that cause, which is a good thing. And he got everybody in the audience to raise their hands and share in a good way about what that cause is. For some people, it's vulnerability. So other people, it's to write and present speeches. There's somebody who's as big as in making an impact, such as myself. And he acknowledged those ones, which is good. And then he structured in a way to try to sway the influence to move to those cause, which I believe those are where his shortfalls starts to be coming in at. Because in general, if there's always to be a cause, the bigger the cause, the bigger the energy, the bigger the impact. And this is the kind of thing that I don't find that TJ is on par with, because there's the bigger the cause that some people have, but the energy is not quite there. A few bars more that needs to be matching it, even though the speech is there, but the energy to express the speech to cause the impact to rise up to par is the missing point. So that is to anybody who wants to make a big impact, or at least sway somebody to have a big cause, is to raise that energy bar to it up there. Second thing that I also find falling short is, can there be a clear differentiation between playing to win and playing not to lose? Because for somebody who is talking about leadership breaking limits and asking about us is how serious are we about those reasons, I think that at the beginning of his conclusion, there is something that's leading up to that. However, because I'm feeling that the ending is rushed so much, that these two differentiations between playing it to win and playing not to lose is so vague and fluffy, in my opinion, that there's no clear differentiation between those two to make a better impact. But nevertheless, I do feel that he is making some dents to some of us in the audience to be able to make, at least go for a mission, to be able to drive ourselves to break our limits. And I think it's good for us to encourage us to go for our limits. So great work there, TJ.
Thank you, Charles. Next, we are going to have our second evaluator, Yuhan. Yuhan, are you ready?
Yes. So thank you, Chair, Madam Chair. So good evening, global speaker members, and welcome guests. So to evaluate Sal's project, Sal's purpose for this project is to help to practice how to manage a difficult audience. I think Sal did very well about preparing his speech. He knows his content very well. And the PowerPoint slide is very brief and straightforward. And there are some members try to act as a difficult audience from different point of view, maybe Charles, TJ. And however, I think because the content of the speech is very straightforward It's the knowledge is quite kind of general financial knowledge. For me, even I want to, if I try to challenge him, it's kind of difficult to challenge because those pretty straightforward from maybe just from textbook. This, so for Sal, I think if we want to keep on this topic, maybe use more story, personal story. So there's more than so people can have different perspective from your story, how you handle your past clients, how to handle your past 30 years in the specific story. You can kind of explain condition, use one small story, explain condition, explain capital. Based on those story, I think different people could have different perspective to maybe they don't agree with you, how you handle that client. So that would make this project more interesting, more then you will have more opportunity really to try to manage the audience. However, also think you did very well because it's an online meeting. I think if the physical meeting will be this kind of format will be more impactful because people can just chat in, ignore you. If it's physical meeting, then you need to handle that. But in the Zoom meeting, I would say it would be kind of not easy to fulfill the purpose of this project. However, the result is ready before the meeting. You do the proper preparation. However, I think if we're back to physical meeting, I would love to see Sal or somebody else to do this project again. I think it will be more impactful and will be more interesting. So overall, I will send Sal my written evaluation after the meeting, and congratulations, Sal, for completing this project. Back to Madam Chair.
Thank you, Johan. This is completed to our first portion of the meeting. Timer, may I have 5 minutes break? And we will resume the meeting by 8:14.
I think you were right, Johan, that cards was stacked because I know this subject really well.
And I think
Maybe I originally had something on health, and I said, no, I got to have a subject that I really know well.
yeah. Also, there's a role called chatter, but it's in the Zoom meeting. It's difficult to chat with people.
Yeah, and I don't know who the silent party was because everybody got muted. So I don't know who one of the parties was supposed to be silent.
This project, it's kind of difficult to really have.
It is.
To do online format.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
How about for the chatter, you can be the guy who actually talks on the line, or at least bring up a phone to talk about, or just talk.
Well, what I saw on an example, because I saw a video of this when I was preparing for it, and there were two people chatting with each other during the meeting. Well, that's hard to do online.
Yeah.
But it was an actual physical meeting, and they kept chatting away, and finally the speaker looked at them for a few minutes, and then they quietened down, and then they asked, well, do you have anything to share? But it's very hard to do that because they don't know who you're chatting to. It's online.
Right. That's what I mean. So in an online world, you
or maybe the chatter to keep.
Because I have a mic right here, I can be the guy that is like, I'm not paying attention to your story. I'm using the mic to talk to some other guy who's out in, I don't know, in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, and Singapore about business, and just talk my way through. Or the other one is, I can be the guy that just have a cell phone, and I'm just gonna be gibbering on and on and on about the latest fashion and what is trending.
Yeah, we could do that, except that I think Zoom Master would have muted everybody. It would have been hard.
Yeah, so difficult to keep mute and unmute yourself. It's back and forth. It's a little bit challenging to do. And
No need sharing.
Leah will join us in the second half soon.
Yeah.
So Charles, what's the name of the Korean
Chuseok.
festival?
Told you.
Korean
Chuseok.
version. Oh, I think that's one of the biggest.
It is big. You get 3 days off of work in a normal setting in Asia. And it's not just about celebrating harvest there.
Yeah.
It's kind of a background story is different. Way back in the day in Korea, people have to go to work outside of their hometown, you see.
Yeah.
And when they do that, they kind of miss their hometown and they kind of need to go, as a tradition, they would go back to their ancestral home village or town to pay respect to their ancestry, like a memorial service for some people, or maybe for some people it's just praying or at least giving respect to one's family because they've been away from home for so long. And this to the family of the person that's coming back, it is like their homecoming, which is why it is big.
Have you been in Korea during this?
I've been in Korea all the time for Chuseok, except for this year.
Okay.
And I'm sure you know why.
Because your wife need to go back.
Well, we can't right now.
I mean before this year. Before this. And Salima, do you have any questions so far?
No, I liked both the speeches. So I'm good.
And later in the second half, the guest will be asked to participate in the table topics later.
Yeah.
So the table topic master will ask you a question related to Mid-Autumn Festival. So you will speak about 1 to 2 minutes. If you want to, but if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to.
Okay. Sure.
And,
Hello, everyone. Do I have everyone back?
I think it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Catherine.
Welcome.
Thank
I think
you.
Jazz still on the break, and who else?
Jazz and Janice, I think, are the only ones that are left to join.
And Janice.
Okay. So,
Oh, yeah,
like,
you're back. Great.
yeah.
And
So
also Leah is going to join us. I saw her back.
good, just in time. Just in time for her role.
Yeah, true. So Johan, is
So-
Leah ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You are ready, but how about Leah?
She's still in another meeting. I will try to.
Oh, I see. Okay, since she's the table topics evaluator. So will you take maybe the first few one?
Yep. So I think, yeah, go.
Catherine, are you taking over the meeting right now, or do you want me to lead it?
Oh, you should.
Are we going to have a joke or not?
Yep, that's what we're leading into right now. Sal, I think we need some humor here to lighten things up. Janice is back. Got a blank look on her face, wondering what the hell is going on. And okay, I already got her laughing.
I have to.
You know what, Sal? It's okay. Janice is already laughing. We don't need a joke master anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I interrupt for a moment here? According to the agenda, I'm supposed to do my timers report, but somebody that I'm timing is going after me. So how does that work? Will I have to tell them their time?
Jazz, I have you as the timer for, you're going to give your report at 8:38. So I don't know what agenda you're looking at.
The one that I have, it says that I'm going to be going at, yeah, 8:40, but then it says the general evaluator, who is John, is going to go after me, and there's a timing schedule for him there.
Yeah, so it's only 8:17 right now.
Okay.
We're 23 minutes out. That gives us just enough time for some table topics and a joke by Sal. Sal, over to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, TJ. Well, there was this gentleman called, shall I call him Charles? No, I'll pick on Charles. His name was Bob, and he couldn't go to the Mid-Autumn Festival, so he was a little depressed. And he became, because he was depressed, he started going a little nuts, and he became delusional. So he goes to a psychiatrist and he says, "Doctor, every time I get into bed, I think there's somebody underneath it. You gotta help me, I'm going crazy." So the shrink said, "Just put yourself in my hands 3 times a week for a year, and I'll cure you." Well, then he said, "Well, how much do you charge?" So the shrink said, $100 a visit. "Well, I'll sleep on it," says Bob. And then 6 months later, the doctor ran into Bob and he said, "Why didn't you ever come to see me again?" And he said, "For $100 each session? Oh, no way. Actually, heck, a bartender cured me for $10. How did he do that? He said he told me to cut off the legs of the bed. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sal. Thanks for the relaxing joke. Next on the agenda is table topic. Our table topic masters is TJ today. TJ, welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, I am Table Topics Master. So just for our guests and any of our long-standing members who have amnesia, I'm going to remind you what Table Topics is about. So the reason we do Table Topics is so that, you know, in real life, we are in conversations, spontaneous conversations, impromptu conversations where we're asked a question or we're discussing a topic and we need to respond. We can't do it like the previous section of the meeting where we have a prepared speech, right? We don't know what the topic is going to be. We don't know what we got to talk about. We got to make it up on the spot. So our table topic section of the meeting is designed to help us prepare for those types of situations where we can practice the skills, where we need to think on our feet, be quick with our words, and speak on the spot. So that's what table topics are about. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to design our table topics around our meeting theme tonight, which is Mid-Autumn Festival. So be prepared to speak something around that. You don't know what it's going to be exactly, because I like to be a little bit of a jerk, where I'm going to put out a topic out there and I'm not going to pose the question to anyone in particular. Okay. It's going to kind of be like a little, what do they call that game where you kind of like, you spin that thing and then you don't know when it's going to pop out. You don't know who's going to get picked, right? So it's going to get everyone thinking, and then I'm going to pick someone to answer the question. Okay. So sticking to our theme, Mid-Autumn Festival, I'd like to ask someone here, who celebrates Mid-Autumn Festival? Okay, let me explain a little bit to you about what it is. So the Mid-Autumn Festival is something that's traditionally thought to be auspicious for weddings, as the moon goddess is believed to extend her conjugal bliss to couples. It's a Chinese event. It's a Chinese affair. It's actually the second most important Chinese holiday after the Chinese New Year. And it dates back to almost 3,000 years when China's emperors worshipped the moon and thanked the gods for the bountiful harvests that they had just had. And it's also celebrated by Korean, Japanese, and other Asian cultures. Okay, it falls on the 15th day of the 8th calendar month of the Chinese calendar, which this year happens to be in our calendar October 1st. So, are there any members of the club or guests who celebrate Mid-Autumn Festival? Raise your hand. Okay, Yuhan, Charles, and Catherine. So, let me ask Charles. I'm going to pick on you because you were picking on me earlier. So, how do you celebrate Mid-Autumn Festival? And what is your favorite thing to do during the celebration?
Let me be blunt on what my favorite thing to do is. Drink until you can't drink anymore until you drop. That's usually how it goes traditionally. And this is how it usually gonna go today. So let's go back to the difference between Mid-Autumn Festival between Chinese culture and in Korean culture. Ever since I have, couple years before I've been married, I've been integrated more and more integrated into Korean culture. And they call it a different name, which is going by Chuseok. The way it's celebrated in Korea is you are to go back to your hometown or your home city, or ancestral hometown or city, and pay respect to your ancestor. The idea is the women there is the one that's having the most stress because they have to be cooking, and you usually have the aunties who's going to be running the kitchen like a drill sergeant, who's going to be the commander, who's going to tell everybody on how the food is cooked, how the food is prepared, how it is going to be like. And for my wife there, it's going to be hell for her. But for us men who is going to be around there, all we have to do is pick up some soju, some songpyeon, which is Korean rice wine, variation of those kinds, have a bit of rice cake. Usually they come in cinnamon, walnut, or whatever, and have a bit of rice wine and just drink and drink and drink. And you have a few more conversations, and then you drink and drink and drink a few more until you really drop down. And the idea for us is not because we're party crazy like an idiot. The idea of us doing this is more of a traditional or related is say that in their culture, in their tradition, I don't even know what's the word for it, but it's a sign of respect for the ancestor. Each drink is to honor one generation from one to another to another. And the more that we drink, the more we honor further and further back. That is the idea. So even if you are really, really drunk, you're still gonna have to drink to honor somebody's ancestor until you can't drink anymore. And when you wake up and hung over the next day, I'm pretty sure everybody understands why. Aside from that, there's a bit of another component that's more spiritually related, which is not so much of the moon goddess, but I think I can tell that story another time.
Thank you, Charles. So I learned something about you. You're a certified alcoholic. Sweet. I know who I want to spend my Mid-Autumn Festival with. Let's go, man. I'm just waiting for the invite, okay? Private chat it to me. Thanks, Charles, for sharing that. So my next question is going to be, let's open it up a little bit. Let's broaden the topic. Describe your favorite festival or holiday, okay? Festival or holiday or, national event, whatever it might be. And something that you remember, it could have been recent or it could be back from your childhood. So describe your favorite holiday, festival, or event from childhood or any time in the past. Who was there? What did you guys do? And what made it so memorable? Okay, I'm gonna I was gonna pick on someone, but Leah's volunteering. I heard her, or I saw her waving her hand, so I'll give it to Leah. Leah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. I am a child of Ottawa, born, bred, raised, conceived. There is one day that matters most to Ottawans, and it is our national holiday, Canada Day. That is the one day of the year a population of 200,000 blows up to about 4 million people. The randomness of what can happen, the chaos, the craziness, you never know who you're gonna meet, what's gonna happen, or what's gonna come around the corner at you. It is phenomenal. If you actually like a little chaos in your life, and when you grow up in Ottawa, a little chaos can sometimes be a very welcome thing to a super boring town. It is just delightful. I miss Canada Day. In fact, one of these years, I want to take him with me to Ottawa for Canada Day so I could introduce him to how it's possible to go from seeing a celebrity to seeing the Prime Minister of Canada to seeing somebody you'll never ever see again. Actually, all of them that you'll never see again. You can just have a great time with it. You can be a little out on edge, a little outside of your comfort zone, and a little bit different. And nobody is going to care. It is brilliant. I highly, highly recommend going to Ottawa, whether you're 5 years old or 50 years old. It is a really fun place on our national holiday, July the 1st. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics.
Thank you, Leah. Canada Day in Ottawa. I mean, that's where the Parliament is, so isn't it always chaotic and crazy over there? But especially on Canada Day, I guess. Okay, so our next question is going to be, are you superstitious? If not, why not? And if you are, what are some of the superstitions that you believe in? Because the Chinese celebrate Mid-Autumn Festival. They're superstitious to the moon and the gods and thanking them for the bountiful harvest that they had. And if they didn't, they're hoping for it next year. So what are you superstitious about? Let's go with Sunima.
All right. So I hope you guys can hear me okay. So yeah, so people might have already guessed it. I am originally from India, another very religious and superstitious fallen people. I don't follow any superstition, but I have grown with my extended families who were very religious and follow a lot of religious and superstitious stuff. And I think that's when it started in me that I kind of distasted a little bit from all the superstitious activities or religious activities. So yes, so that's where my stand is currently with religion and superstition. I don't know if that's a put off or not, but that's where I'm at. But I like the drinking part of that activity, so no complaints on that. If that's a superstition, I'm okay with that. But no fasting, no kind of activities which is like it's something that you have to do just because it's that particular day you have to do, and it's not fun in doing that. It's just because people just say when that you just have to do it because that's what you have to do without any logic or reasoning. I don't follow those rules or guidelines. So it does just me how superstition goes with me. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Sunima.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're all superstitious when it comes to alcohol. We need to drink it as much as possible for the best luck, right? Charles can agree. So next question is going to be, this is a tougher one. This is a little bit harder. So I got to pick someone who I think is up for that challenge. If you could invent, by the way, the tougher table topics are the ones that require you to get creative, where you got to make stuff up. Those are always the hardest ones. At least for me, they are. So that's why I say this. So if you could invent your own festival, to do with anything that you wanted to do with, what would it be? What would you do? Okay. I see Janice smiling, so she volunteered for this one.
That's a very interesting question. So the first thought came to mind, and it might sound a bit childish, but I thought about a gummy bear festival. I love gummy bears. So maybe it would be a festival where there are different kinds of gummy candy there, and everybody's enjoying. Maybe the whole family comes, you know, children, parents, all just enjoying gummy kind of snacks. And maybe, so we have something here called a curry festival. And at that festival, it's not a Jamaican festival per se. It's just something that came about in the recent years. So at that festival, they curry everything possible, even things like curried mangoes, which is just strange. So for me, at the Gummy Bear Festival, we could probably create different kinds of gummy snacks or meals, you know, from gummy candy. That's all I could think of.
Thanks, Janice. My niece would love you because what does my grandpa do? He gets me to go to the superstore to get the gummy bears for her so that he could like bribe her and treat her and spoil her, and I'll do all that stuff with the gummy bears. So my niece would absolutely love you to death just because of that. Great job, by the way. My next question is going to be, what festival or holiday are you looking forward to next? And what do you plan or what do you want to do for it? So what festival or holiday are you looking forward to next, and what do you want to do for it? And I'm going to go with, let's go with that cute girl. What's her name? Jazz? Yeah.
So for me, the next festival, I don't know if it's a festival, it's more of a holiday. And with what's going on with COVID, I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be allowed to celebrate the way we have celebrated it. But I celebrate Christmas, and my birthday is 5 days before Christmas. So it ends up being a huge week-long party thing. There's always something going on with, I have a really big extended family. So we all hang out days leading up to Christmas, days after Christmas. So that's the one thing that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I don't know, with the COVID rules and restrictions, I'm not entirely sure what it's going to look like this year. But even if it's intimate with like just my immediate family, it's one of my favorite holidays. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, sweet. And I can attest, Christmas at her place is always just dope AF, all right? And the food is bomb, presents are bomb, company is bomb. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to Christmas as well. Our next question is going to be, by the way, I'm just going to sneak in a word of the day. Yeah, Yuhan?
It's time for evaluation, I think.
Oh man, we're up already? We're just starting to have fun. Okay, so our evaluator for tonight for table topics is Leah, and she is an amazing evaluator. I love having her highlighted as our evaluator for tonight because I know she's going to do an amazing job. So all of our table topic speakers pay really close attention, not just to your own feedback, but the feedback that she gives to other speakers, because we don't just learn from our own mistakes with Toastmasters, we learn from the mistakes of others as well, right? That's the best part about being in a all-inclusive, supportive group. Leah, over to you.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. Tonight, our first speaker was Charles, given the question of who celebrates the Mid-Autumn Festival, and looks like I have protocols involved. I love Charles's response: drink, 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 drink. And then, in fact, I think most of my things written down here say drink, 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 drink repeatedly. So I'm guessing that from Charles, when he goes to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival, it is a time of getting drunk with family and honoring the elders. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about what happens aside from the drinking. But I did like how he broke down the genders. The women are in the kitchen, the aunties are all cooking food, the gentlemen are out getting soju and eating rice cakes that are made with cinnamon and walnut. All in all, Charles, I really enjoy your stories. I love the energy and the enthusiasm that you bring to it. I would have just liked to have heard a little bit more, maybe a personal story about something that happened when you were getting drunk, not just the hangover the next day. The second speaker was yours truly. She may have spoken a bit fast. I'll just say that I'm very well known for speaking far too fast, but I do bring a certain enthusiasm to this. And Canada Day is something that really should be celebrated. If you ever have a chance, please go to Ottawa. The third speaker was Sunny Ma. And are you superstitious was the question. I liked how she said, no, not really. Her personally, not superstitious, from India, but her family's superstitious, and how she brought it to a national level. Sanima, I really, really enjoyed your smile. The only piece of advice that I would have in terms is with the camera, actually it's the same piece of advice I would give Charles too. Charles, we see him on the side like this. Sanima, you're on the side like this from how I see you. If you could center and straighten it and then be able to focus just on the camera, both speakers, that would have been fantastic. Our fourth speaker, not our final speaker, Janice did not have that issue at all. Janice, you also have a beautiful smile. And I loved how the question was, what kind of festival would you create? And you came up with the Gummy Festival. I think I'm right there with TJ in saying how I really want to go to that festival. I want to see what happens to all the gummies, because that would be just delicious and it would take forever to chew. I don't know if you've ever eaten gummies, to everybody in the audience today, but they take forever. So I think a gummy festival might last many, many days depending on how many gummies you actually had. Would have liked to have heard just a little bit more, but I thought the creativity was there, the energy was there, the smile is fantastic. Janice, you're welcome to come back again and do that, because that was great. And our fifth and final speaker is the incredible, the wonderful, and the beautiful Jazz, who had, what festival holiday do you look forward to? And I liked how she started off saying, I'm not even sure it's going to happen this year with COVID-19. And then she brought up the fact that her birthday is only 5 days before Christmas. If you know anybody who's born in the month of December, you know how horrible it can be to have a birthday with Christmas right there, because your birthday gets lost in Christmas. And I think Jazz touched on that really well. I would have liked to have seen her expand on it a bit more, because I know it could be a pretty horrifying experience to have everybody too busy getting ready for Christmas and they forget about your birthday. Jazz, this year, we won't forget about your birthday. Make sure you come back and visit us about December 20th. And we will make sure to all sing you happy birthday. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. Again, Jazz, you did not have that issue with the camera. You're centered, your focus. It's beautiful. Everyone, I look forward to seeing you next time. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Leah. Love the feedback. Was I right or was I right about her, right? And she touched on the same point a few times, and I'm just gonna echo it again, is that we would have loved to have heard more from each of the speakers tonight. You know, that's the thing with table topics is such a short time to get your message in. And the saddest part is there's so many other ways you could have taken it, and you could have talked for another 5 minutes, but we time it so that we give everybody an opportunity to speak, and still it wasn't enough time. So thanks everyone for participating, and I'd like to hand it back over to our chairwoman, Catherine. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Let's welcome back to our grammarian, Johan. He's going to present his report to us. Johan.
So thank you, Catherine. So I'm glad we have TJ use the word of the day at least once, Sal use at least twice, and also how our invocator Rama used once. And I didn't catch anyone use. Did I miss anyone use miraculous? Yeah, so hope. Then fiddle words. I noticed Catherine today, she tend to use more than usual. So please pay more attention. And the TJ, I think your field words, in your speech, you tend to use a lot of and. Sometimes I think it's not really necessary. If you can just pause and start another sentence instead of using and to connect all your sentences. And other than that, I think most other members and guests, I cannot find any unnecessary filler words. As for notable words, I like TJ use certified alcoholic. That's a new word for me. I know some of my friends definitely that's the title of some of my friends. And I think everyone you have pretty good user grammar. I cannot find any grammatical error. Maybe I was sleeping, but hopefully not. So that concludes my very short report because I'm kind of double duty. Hopefully I will do a better job next time. So back to Madam Chair.
Thank you, Johan. No worries. You'll always be our star. Next, let's welcome Jazz to have the timers report. Jazz.
Hi. I'm not entirely sure if I just read off the times or if I'm supposed to tell you what time you were supposed to take and how much you actually took. No, so just read off the times.
Just read off the times.
Sure. So the Zoom Master TJ, you took 1 minute and 30 seconds. Chairperson Catherine, 2 minutes. Grammarian Yuhan, 1 minute and 17 seconds. Me as the timer, I took 29 seconds to explain my role. The invocator, Rama, 1 minute and 22 seconds. Toast, Catherine, 30 seconds. First evaluator, Charles, 46 seconds. First speaker, TJ, you took 7 minutes and 47 seconds. Second evaluator, Yuhan, you took 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Second speaker, Sal, you took 15 minutes and 19 seconds. First evaluator, Charles, 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Second evaluator, Yuhan, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Back to the Zoom Master after the break. You took 46 seconds, TJ. Sal, the Joke Master, you took 1 minute and 20 seconds. And then we had the Table Topics Evaluator, Leah, and she took 3 minutes and 49 seconds. And the Grammarian, Yuhan, we took 1 minute and 52 seconds. And now it's me, and I didn't time myself. My bad, guys.
No worries. Thank you, Jess. In Toastmasters, we all been evaluated, even though you don't have your specific evaluator. So let's welcome John to evaluate all the people that hasn't been evaluated yet. John.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I'll go through fairly quickly. I felt it was a successful meeting, very constructive, and everybody pulled their weight in tonight's meeting. Guests were greeted efficiently, agenda was made available, and changes were made accordingly, and members were ready to go as required. Our Zoom Master, TJ, did a good thing. He asked for noise devices to be turned off, and usually the Sergeant at Arms or Zoom Master doesn't mention that, so that was good attention to that detail. And introduced the chair and welcome guests. Our Toastmaster, Catherine, gave a very good toast and also welcomed the guests, reviewed changes to the agenda, short intro on the theme, had a nice icebreaker question with a simple short answer, and smooth transition between the speakers. So well done, Catherine. Our invocator, Rama, good speech with regard to the theme Mid-Autumn Festival. So I thought that was well done. And our joke master, Sal, a very original joke. So that was good. I'd never heard that joke before, so it must be original. Anyway, our timer, Jazz, you gave the reason and purpose of the times in the first half of your explanation, which is good. And the times were reported in detail for all the different speakers in the second half. And you did a good job of trying to keep the meeting running on time by keeping track of the time. So well done, Jazz. Our grammarian, Yuhan, good explanation of duties in the first half, good report on word of the day, Oz, and English report in the second half. A clear, concise word and role explanation and word of the day, miraculous, was presented. So that was completely well handled there. Our table topics master, TJ, I felt they were a very original and challenging set of topics, and I'm glad you didn't ask me to participate because they were tough topics. But the theme Mid-Autumn Festival was introduced. They were introduced concisely in 1 minute or less. Members were called when guests asked to participate. So overall, that was well done too. Our table topics evaluator, Leah, I thought she provided encouraging feedback, shared opportunities for growth without rambling on. Sandwich technique was used, and then her evaluations on a positive note. Our 5-minute break was taken and started on time and ended on time, so that was well done. Then we come to our speech evaluators. Our first speech evaluator, Charles. A good introduction of TJ's speech, good analysis of sales content, organization. Delivery skills weren't mentioned too much, but one thing on Charles, it was just perhaps a little bit harsh on TJ's weak points. Gotta be careful not to come down too hard on somebody, but overall it was an encouraging evaluation. Our second speech evaluator, Yuhan, encouraging feedback on sales speech, offering areas of improvement, and especially an encouraging summation. So at the end of his evaluation, he summarized things in a very encouraging, positive way. So overall, I felt everybody did a good job tonight. Somehow or other, emotionally, I wasn't quite with this meeting, but it was a good meeting, and I'm glad I attended. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you, John. It's time for our guest comments. May I have Sanima to be the first one? Hello, Sanima. What do you think about our meeting tonight?
No, I liked it. I think it's not just gave me a platform to talk and speak. I also learned something new about the festival that I didn't know. So yeah, it was a double bonus for me. Something that increased not only my public speaking confidence, but also something new that I learned as a knowledge. So yeah, I liked it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, may I have Rama?
Yeah, thank you. So just as every time before that I attended these meetings, you know, I felt so supported, so, you know, energized by everyone. And it's just a really good platform, you know, because in school, I mean, it's so hard to talk. You have to raise your hand and everything. But over here, it's a little bit different because things are a lot more flexible. So yeah, I think it's great and I always really enjoy. So thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Next, may I have Jazz?
I have sat in on a Toastmasters, but this is the most involved I've been. I've sat in as a guest, and even though I was a guest before, today I got to play on a role of being the timer, which I kind of panicked and thought, how am I going to do this and flip through the screens and change the colors while having a timer going? But I managed to do it, and as much as I was like, maybe I'll join or maybe I'll do this again, I'd love to sit in again. It's really nice. I mean, I see all the improvements that can be made, even in my own speech. Like, I'm just thinking about, all the words that I'm using, and I tend to use the word a lot to kind of fill in the gaps. And so I know Toastmasters would help me out with that.
Thank you. And actually, you did a great job. Thanks. Hey, the next one is Janice. Janice.
Yes. So thank you. I really enjoyed the meeting. I was a bit nervous, I must admit. Nervous because I didn't know what to expect, because I had never been a part of a Toastmasters meeting with people who are not Jamaicans. I do love the diversity in the group. I don't feel the diversity, I just see it, which makes it a comfortable space. I'm seriously considering a gummy bear festival. No, I'll be back. I'll be back. Thank you all.
That would be great. Thank you. Just want to remind you, if you join Global Speakers Toastmasters this month, then you'll receive a special face mask from our club. So please join us, and also refer some friends to our meeting as well. Let's conclude my chairperson's job. Let's move on to club business, to our president, Yuhan. Oops. So
We just bailed.
Yeah, we miss him.
Put the spotlight on him. He's like, all right, peace, I'm out, man. I can't handle that kind of pressure.
So TJ, do you have any announcement to us?
I don't have any announcements, but I just want to say, I want to give a shout out to Rama. It's her third meeting and she's already taken on a role.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So thanks. You did a great job as Invocator tonight. Jazz is her second, I guess, meeting, but first one with us. And I asked her to be timer and she took it on and she nailed it too. So thank you to those guests for coming on tonight and helping make the meeting happen and being part of it. It's a group effort. Like I said, this is your Toastmasters, not mine. It's not any of ours. It's all of ours. So thanks for contributing. And I'd love to see our guests out again. You know, Sunny Mom, we had a great time with you. Same with you, Janice. Rama, always, like you said, it's always great to, it's great for you to be here for you, but it's great for us to have you here. So we'd love to see you. Maybe bring some gummy bears with you next time or have them in your background, right? And Sunny Mom, where are you, by the way? We know she's in Jamaica. Sunny Mom, where are you?
I'm in Vancouver.
Vancouver, okay. So yeah, you're local. Yeah, that's awesome. All of us are like in Richmond, Surrey. I know Jazz is in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm in Burnaby.
Okay. Awesome. And Sal, by the way, I just wanted to say, I hope I was trying not to be too much of a jerk during as the interrupter during your speech. So I hope.
Well, actually, I was quite surprised. You guys behaved really well. So thank you for doing that.
Maybe I'll step it up.
Charles was a little easy on you. I was expecting more fireworks. That's okay. It was great to see Janice, and as you were asking, you're very welcome to come back. It'll be wonderful to have you, and maybe even take part in one of our roles here. So sign up. Do get in touch with Yuhan or TJ, and if you want to take on a role, feel free to do that.
And Janice, we can always start off with the smaller roles. Like today was Jazz's first role. She was timer, right? And I guided her through that. I showed her beforehand, you know, what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So I try to make it as easy for her as possible. And it's just a way for you to get your foot in the door, get more involved, right? Kind of same sort of theme with the table topics. It's just a way for you to get a little bit more comfortable, you know, speaking in front of people, right? But you said that you've been to other clubs in Jamaica, so you're probably getting a little bit more used to that as it is. But it's awesome to have you here. Yeah, Sal, I would love to see more speeches like Sal's. Like usually when there's a prepared speech, we can't say anything unless we're asked, right? So like in my speech, I asked you guys to shout out some answers, and it was a way to be interactive and involve you guys, and then for me to kind of get off that energy. But most speeches, they don't ask you, unfortunately. You know, a lot of speeches I've noticed, you don't participate. So to be able to try to go into Sal's speech and blow it up as much as I could, that was fun. I like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Johan, we had just, Catherine had just asked you if there was any club business to, that you needed to talk about before you dropped out. So I'm glad you paid your internet bill. We're back on now.
Yeah, so thank you everyone who renew your membership. Our new membership period just coming beginning on Thursday, October 1st. So we hope we will have new faces join us very soon. And our next meeting will be on October 12th, second Monday of the month. Also, there will be a couple district host events in the coming weeks. I think pretty much every Saturday morning, there will be a special event, either a special training on Easy Speak, training on Pathway, or there's a whole event for some recognition. So those are district host events. So if you join those events, you can meet people from all over British Columbia, the club from different clubs all over British Columbia.
And maybe from elsewhere too.
Yeah, so I think most of those events are 10 a.m. on Saturday, PST Pacific time, and it's, I believe, all are free to join. So I will put those events in email and on our WhatsApp group. So feel free to join those events. So that concludes my announcement. Okay,
I'll just quickly say to the guests, we have this meeting. Our club meets every second Monday. So one Monday off, and then we reconvene the next Monday. It's the same bat day, same bat time, same bat channel, and same batshit crazy members. So you can expect to find us all here, and we hope to have you join us as well. Okay, I don't have anything else to say, Johan, unless you do. But let's respect everyone's time and end the meeting then.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Awesome. Good night, guys.
So I will stay after. If anyone want to ask any question, please, you can feel free to stay longer a little bit.
So I'm seeing two different dates in the chat. One is the 5th from Sal, the other is the 12th. So which one's which?
It's 12th, October 12th. However, yeah, because that's right now in the next few months we are still doing every second and fourth Monday.
Until when?
Until then I think we will review probably by the end of the year to see if we should back to weekly meeting. So I think for now, at least until December, we will do twice a month.
Okay.
Because so if we have more membership, then we have more capacity. We can do weekly meeting. We are back to weekly meeting.
Yeah, I get it. And I think eventually we're gonna be going back to meeting in person sometime. So how are you gonna be pulling it off the virtual?
In-person meeting, I don't think it's anytime soon.
I know it's not anytime soon, but that day will eventually come. You're gonna be doing like this. You either discard virtual LAN eventually, or the other one is you plug in a computer where there is a network.
Yeah. We'll think about that. Let's see. This is all the club are facing this decision to make. So it's not all our club. I think it will be hybrid meeting. Probably one of the most likely will do hybrid, and the technically should be doable for sure.
Sure, I get it. I'm signing off myself. See you around.
And for next meeting, do you have any?
It's gonna be my birthday coming up. I think I'll be out for the next one.
For next one, 12, you won't be there.
No. I'm celebrating my birthday coming up. So have a good day.
Okay. Tired?
A little bit, that's okay. I'm just cleaning up all the sparkles at home and whatever I got. I wanted to add some crazy festivals, but then it was silver sparkle all over the floor.
So you guys had fun? You guys had fun?
Oh yeah, I'm looking at Google though.
Really? I think you are more fun today. Yeah.
I had barbecue for that. Okay, who called?
Sorry, Barb.
Probably.